Is she starting as a second semester?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Lynn, can you call roll?
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Hand?
Here.
Mr. Grover?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Here.
Ms. Wozniak?
Here.
Mr. Vanderwater?
Here.
Mrs. Vanderwater?
I totally thought she said Mr. and I'm like,
Sorry.
really? Not here. Here. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes of our regular meeting held on May 21st, 2025?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Mike. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Citizen comments, Lynn? None. Okay. I'm gonna just do one quick and then we'll run into the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve the budget transfers and modifications per the memo from the comptroller dated June 4th, 2025?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Roger, seconded by Jen. Any questions or comments? I think they're pretty self-explanatory. We had an emergency repair up at the bathhouse that needed to be repaired, and then a little balance due on our dog control agreement. Motion made by Roger, seconded by Jen. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Being 7 o'clock, can I get a motion to adjourn our regular town board meeting and enter into public hearing to consider local law B 2025?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Mike. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are now in public hearing. Nadine.
So, local law, I'm sorry, I just realized that. My assistant, local law C into my local law B folder.
Do you want me?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
Here's the well, here's it all.
Let's do this. So, local law B is to, local law B is to amend chapter 200 of the Town of Van Buren Code, which is generally known as our zoning regulations. Tonight, this is being, we have the public hearing for amending section, specifically, it is the definition. I'm sorry, not a definition, it's section 200-33B as in boy 1. And it's for the PUD, the Planned Unit Development District. Currently, there is a requirement that for a PUD, for an applicant to come forward and have a PUD, they have to have 15 acres. This just simply, all the language is the same except it changes the number, the numerical value from 15 to 10. 10 is a number that is used by other municipalities. There is not, from a legal point of view, a right or wrong, a minimum or anything specific on the amount of acreage that has to be in a planned development district. The point is that it be a sufficient amount of property that it avoids a spot zoning issue. So that you don't want a situation where you can have a PUD on an acre, right? Because then all of a sudden you can have a little one spot here, one spot there, and it becomes a spot zoning, it's a certain that. But 10 acres is often a number that allows for flexibility for the developer, but also flexibility for the town. And it gives the town the ability to be more responsive to concerns that can be expressed and allow for development in a more planned, as the title would indicate, manner. So that is what's before you this evening, is simply changing 50 to 10.
All right, thank you. I will now open it up to citizen comments. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the local law change? I say again, anyone willing to speak in front or in favor of the zone change? Being none, I'd like to open up the floor to anyone speaking in against the proposed zone change, or law change. Again, anyone wanting to speak? Mike, come on up. Just please state your name and your address and,
Mike Meyer, 144 Main Road.
okay?
I just have a couple quick questions.
Yep.
Will the new zone change PUD size requirement allow for the 31 Elton Home project to be reconsidered for public variances on less than 1 acre lots?
I'm not sure I understood your question. Can you just say it again?
Will the project that we've on 31 be able to now go after the PUD designation?
Yeah, because I think he has 12 acres, so he would be able to request a zone change to a PUD.
Even though we've already asked him that we don't want it?
Yep, he would be able to come because if you recall, he came once and wanted R15 and we said no. He came again for R20, so he can come again now.
And before it, at the lot size he's got now, he wasn't allowed to do the PUD, correct?
Because
of there was 50.
number of acres, yeah.
Okay. So as I understand, I could be misinformed, the PUD size tells you that you can shrink the lot sizes and make stuff fit better for the area that you're working with, correct?
That is correct, but I wouldn't specifically say that it allows to shrink the size. It just allows you to do different size lots in there. You would have different setbacks, you could have different road frontage setbacks, all that kind of stuff could be changed. They're not all exactly the same.
The newer section of Harbor Heights is PUD.
Right, and if you, that's one of my points, is if you drive through that newer section, the PUD portion that I find offensive is the south side of Silversides, where I don't think you could park 2 cars on down in the driveways. You know, and over in the existing neighborhood, it's a lot more spacious, it's tranquil, you know, and we love it over there. I don't know about you, but most people bought on the west side of 690 to stay away from the crowds and all the people. And now we're just, you know, if we pass this law, we're just inviting it.
Just to be clear, this only changes whether or not someone can apply with less than 15 acres.
Right.
There's still that other process, there's still the planning process, and there's still all the requirements. And it would allow, so to the extent there's concern specific for that
Right,
property.
well, it just seems the timing is,
No, I understand what you're saying, but what I'd like to also kind of clarify, while it may allow for different sized lots, it also puts into the ability of the town to say, whereas right now, for example, if the developer wanted to have 2-family homes, the town with the PUD can say no. Right now, we can't say no.
well, and it's
And
another,
that was a concern that was voiced loud and clear over a number of meetings that people were very against. I'm not
Right,
saying that
no.
the town board has taken any action on or any decisions on any of that, but I'm just giving you an example of why PUD plans and PUD, that process is often considered attractive, not just for the developer, for the town as well, because then also once you have a PUD, whenever there is any changes, as the Dorigos know, because that's what they're here for tonight, whenever you have a PUD, it's done by local law, that zone and how that property is developed. So any changes to it, has to go back before the town board, not just the planning board, but it goes back before the town board and they go through a local law
but then they've
procedure.
already set
Amendment.
precedent on the existing changes they've made in the new neighborhood, correct? We say, well, we did PUD there and you allowed this and that and the other.
I don't think that sets a precedent, no, because there's so many moving parts in a PUD that you can say yes to this depending on where it is or the density or how many houses he wants or a developer wants, and then in a different area, it could be that'll work just fine. So in my opinion, I think the plan unit development gives a lot more oversight by the planning board, and they also listen to what the town board's asking for as well.
Because I remember at the beginning of this, he mentioned that, you know, he was gonna have 2-family homes. And they'd be nice, live in place, age in place. The family could afford it better because now you've got the whole family taking care of grandma and stuff. And then when they started calling it duplexes, it changed the whole scenario. you know, because now everybody's offended, they don't want duplexes, but it was, you go down Route 31 to 173, and there's a beautiful two-family home right now.
Well, there's a difference between those two structures, though. What he was originally proposing, and again, that's not what's before the town board this evening, but what he was originally proposing were two families stacked. So it was all one ownership, but just two families, so, but then what evolved is that it could be duplexes, which is two ownership, and so it's different. There's a difference because
And
there was.
I don't mean to go back to, you know, the Route 31 project, because that's not what we're all talking about.
Right.
But in a sense it is, because that opens the door for him to do that. And my objections were what he wanted to do over there. I think we should keep him to the 1 acre lots. If he wants to do duplexes, fine. He's got to do a HOA or whatever. And they're going to be, I think they're going to be nice and they'll be well kept. And the people, I'd rather see 6 houses along 31 with 6 behind it than a dozen houses along there. Or potentially looking at silver signs along 31 there. And that's why I'm against changing PUD.
Well, I mean, if he decides to reapply for that development and go through a PUD process, it will be another public hearing here where you can come and speak about that specific
I
development.
don't think we have the legs as much to stand on because now we've approved that he can even go for it with a smaller size parcel. I think it's the catch-22.
Well,
PUD.
a PUD is still legislative,
Right.
which is different because when you have, I don't want to go too far in the weeds, but if you have something that's allowed by right in your zoning rules, regulations, if you know your property that you can, under the terms of the zoning law, have X, Y, and Z, right? And it's a subdivision or a site plan process. As long as that developer or that property owner comes in and checks the boxes of what a subdivision requires, you can't tell them no.
Right.
That is just a, here you go. When you were talking about something legislative, that is where the town board, it's not a check the box. It's not automatic. That's where there's more dialogue and there's more ability to have some influence. So the process, if not changed, the town does not have nearly as much ability to control. As long as somebody comes in and says, here's a subdivision plan that meets by the subdivision requirements, and I don't need any area variances, there's no way to say no.
Yeah. I can appreciate that, but I would still rather see 12 units on 1 acre parcels. I think it's going to be a less water problem, you know, because you don't have the square footage blocking the drainage and absorption, things like that. And then the other question I have is, well, last time we had a public hearing, there was a fellow in here trying to get a fence approved. He was asking for a variance. But he had to have the survey, the pole heights, the type of fence, the installer, all this stuff. The builder right now, it doesn't seem like he's, you know, subjected us to anything drawing-wise.
I just don't think we're far enough in the process yet.
We're not there yet.
But he's asking for
But
zone
that's really-
changes and we haven't seen.
But that's not what this public hearing is about, though.
Right, but I'm just, to me, they're connected because I think this is leading to what he's trying to do.
But that's not even a process that's started. So it's hard to compare what somebody did for an area variance for a site, for a fence, to a process that hasn't started.
What I'm getting at is the variance he was requesting, he needed to give all the supporting information as to why he wanted the variances. And from what I've seen with the other project, we've just seen rough sketches of ideas of this is what I think I'm gonna build. I don't know until I get in there and start moving dirt and stuff what's actually gonna happen.
So what I would suggest is if you're interested in what would take place with the PUD process, Kriego recently went through that process. Take a look at the planning board meeting minutes of Kriego and how much they required from the developer before they were even in a position to give a referral back to the town board. It was a process that went over months. And there was a lot of review and discussion, and by the time, when you have a PUD, I'm sorry guys, but I'm sure there's others in the room who are benefiting from this conversation. When you have a PUD, that process, because it's legislative, an applicant comes to the town board and says, here's what I would like to do, because it's a zone change. Town board receives it, town board flips it over to the planning board. Planning board for referral. The planning board then goes through all these details. And again, I would strongly suggest anybody who's interested in this process to look at what was done with the Crego development, because that is the PUD process. The planning board, there is a whole section in our town code, back in that chapter 200, that lays out what is required for a PUD. Once the planning board gets all of that information, then they give a referral back to the town board on what they think should be done. Then the town board takes that and says, okay, now, because it's a local law, now we've received the plans in a
The working set of.
well, much more, it needs to be
Detail.
almost in an approval set. Then they schedule the public hearing. And then after the public hearing is when they would have any kind of action on it. So it's a much more involved process than simply.
And are we not doing the correct steps when we're in here at public hearing to reduce the size of the zoning?
That's different.
Those are based
That's
on
not
his-
legislative, that's totally planning board.
Oh, okay.
See what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
this
okay.
is a whole nother,
Different area.
I know this one doesn't.
I guess the example would be, we didn't approve Crego, so it went through the process as proposed and then came back to us with a recommendation, planning board, but it didn't sit with us, right? So they still have some things they need to do before they got there. So I guess to Nadine's point is it adds layers to the process, it adds review. And I think that's what is going to be favorable for if this is a project that comes forward again.
And remember, PUD also has the ability, not just, it allows, take, and I know it's hard, but take that property out of the equation. It allows for the flexibility in how you want to develop property. There are other parcels in this town where people have expressed interest in developing property in a planned manner, but haven't been able to because of the lack of acreage. So there's been opportunities lost for development that if they had the smaller acreage size, they would be able to take advantage of and have that flexibility. So
Is there a minimum size requirement for the lot size in a PUD?
no, it's what the planning board.
Well, we wouldn't allow anything less than R10 because our code doesn't allow anything. So,
Essentially.
So, I mean, you're,
Yeah.
I guess.
But it allows for cluster developments more so. Where if you ever look at how they develop and concentrate the development in one section, or they're able to accommodate the topographic features or the unique features to a piece of property, it allows for more of that. It would allow for more concerns to address buffering. It gives a lot more flexibility to the town to say, okay, well, we can adjust these property sizes so that it gives the buffer that people want and preserve. And we can adjust this to address the drainage concerns and make sure that drainage is properly taken care of through the dreaded SWIP process or documents.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Just questions, because you're giving me a lot, oh, sorry, Janet Resbeck, 24.
I know that microphone is like up in the
I know.
air.
I like these anyway. I guess my concern or question is, okay, 20 years ago, we had a PUD. What was changed for the new section wasn't what was talked about at the public hearings. So my understanding is that it gets changed from 15 to 10, then we get a PUD for the Route 31 area. There's more oversight and more control. But I didn't see that 20 years ago. What's the difference?
The boards, we have the town boards completely different and the planning boards completely different. And we talk and they have an idea of what we're looking for and what we're hoping for. And they hear what the residents have come in and said.
Well, and the same idea, you could have there's an application for area variances. You could have a planning board or ZBA 20 years ago that says, we're going to grant more. we're gonna be okay with that, and it would give you, it would still end up with the same result. So it's hard to say, what has been done or whether or not.
I mean, drainage issues was an issue before 20 years ago. There are different issues now, and I don't want to see that. That's all.
Anyone else wanting to speak? We're not going to vote tonight because we don't have county comments back, so we'll close it tonight and then we'll vote at the next meeting.
Jurisdictionally, we can't. Just for those in the audience, it was required to have a 239 referral. It was sent to the county immediately, but they have by statute 30 days, and we haven't gotten back yet, and we can't act without it.
Can I get a motion to close the public hearing and go back into regular town board meeting?
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Motion made by Jenny, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are back in regular session. Number 3, assessor quarterly report. Hello, Teresa.
Hi, how's everyone? We kind of got out of the habit of doing assessment reports, so Supervisor and I had a discussion and came up with written reports quarterly before the board, unless there's something that you want to talk about and you need me to come and talk about a specific topic. So this year we sent 174 change of assessment notices. They were mailed the week of April 14th. Informal meetings were held the week of the April 21st and the 28th. A total of 5 appointments were scheduled with property owners, so it was pretty quiet. The tentative assessment roll was filed on May 1st, and 80 change of taxable status notices were mailed to property owners. And just an FYI, we get more questions about those notices typically than anything else we mail out. And basically, if you read, it's a state form, and if you read the last line of the first paragraph, it says that the property that you have has an exemption that was, a previous exemption was discontinued. And typically, it's somebody that's bought a new house and the previous owner's exemptions have been taken off. So that notice is required by law, and it freaks everyone out. Grievance day was held by appointment on last Tuesday, the 27th. 5 appointments were scheduled, and 1 was paperwork only, and 1 was received on May 28th by mail. And unfortunately, I made a courtesy call to let the business know that they were too late for grievance day. So
Is there a postmark thing you have to follow, or just when you receive?
The law actually, and I looked it up even though I've been doing this for a while, the law actually says it may be filed with the assessor on or before grievance day,
Okay.
or with the Board of Assessment Review in person on grievance day. It doesn't reference any postal postmark or anything like that, because grievance day is typically 1 day. The equalization rate for the town of Van Buren for 2025 is 70%. The town of Lysander is hosting an assessment staff training lunch meeting next week for Onondaga County. Currently, we have, I think, 19 attendees coming. Wednesday, the 11th at noon. We have a guest speaker that used to work at the county clerk's office. They will be discussing deed issues, and I will be teaching exemption liability issues and steps as we go from an old DOS program at the county to a new spreadsheet that we hope will solve some of the problems. No one at the county knows how to maintain that old DOS program. So it's getting a little quirky and clunky, and no one knows what to do with it. So we're going to be starting some new steps for that. I am scheduled to attend a required ethics course in Liverpool on June 18th. I have filed my assessor annual disclosure statement with both the supervisor and the town clerk as required by law. And just an FYI, my term will expire on September 30th of this year. And I will accept reappointment, but in about 3 years, I'm going to be considering retirement. So I'm not committing to a full 6 years currently as a shared assessor between Van Buren and Lysander. And I will entertain any questions you may have.
Do we want to talk about the equalization rate? No.
It's okay, Terry. I mean, it is something we will have to talk about.
Yeah, I
and
can give you, I don't have all of the numbers because they haven't finalized them yet. Final roll isn't until July 1st, so we're kind of in between. But I can let you know that our residential trends in Onondaga County range from 7% to 13%. And that's a year to year, 24 to 25 increase in 1 year, 7 to 13%. The commercial was 2 to 4, and the vacant land was 6 countywide. To give you an idea, Clay, their assessment roll this year is at 2.40%. Salina is at 75. Geddes is at 49.38. And Camillus is at 69%, and Lysander as well as Van Buren is at 70. Only 3 towns in Onondaga County are at 100%, and they are Manlius, DeWitt, and Tully.
Tully.
Yep. So, just to give you a comparison.
I know, it's nice not hearing complaints about reassessments. It's been a couple years now, and I'd like to keep that trend, but 70 is pretty low, so we'll put a pin in that until next year. Any questions for Teresa? Thank you so much. Great job. We're very blessed to have you here. Your department's doing phenomenal, and you have a new clerk. And how's Katie doing?
She's doing fine. She will be attending the training next week. She's looking forward to that. And my exemption liability presentation will benefit not just her, but all of the new clerical staff. And we actually have some new assessors without experience in this county. So we usually get a pretty good mix of staff and clerical, assessment staff and clerical, and we've actually had assessors attend as well. We do them twice a year.
Okay. Thank you so much. Moving on to number 4, can I get a motion to approve the 2 seasonal buildings and grounds employees per the memo from the crew leader dated May 29th? One is a returning staff member and one is new.
I'll make a motion.
A second. Motion made by Roger, seconded by Jenny. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Can I get a motion to approve the seasonal summer staff for Parks and Recs department per Heidi's memo dated May 29th? She has 3 folks coming back. They're all returning. So again, it just goes to show how fun it is working up at the Van Buren Park.
I'll make a motion to approve the seasonal summer
Thanks.
staff.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Darcy, seconded by Bob. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. I have a penciled in number 6. Can I get a motion to appoint Tom Fugia as fire marshal?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Jenny. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Penciled in number 7. Can I get a motion to accept Tim Gainey's resignation effective June 1st, 2025?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Roger, seconded by Jenny. Tim was our part-time code enforcement officer. He was also working for the village, and he's decided that he needs to slow it down a little bit in his life and enjoy part-time work instead of full-time. So we are gonna miss him. He brought a wealth of knowledge with him, and we wish him the best. Motion made by Roger, seconded by Jenny. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Penciled in number 8. Dorigos are here tonight. Can I get a motion to schedule a public hearing for the PUD amendment at Marion Meadows for June 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m.?
I'll make that motion. Second.
Motion made by Jen, seconded by Darcy. Nadine, do you want to speak to that?
Sure.
Okay.
So after the civic lesson a few minutes ago about what PUDs are, we have a...
This is a perfect example. It's perfect timing.
I couldn't have set this up better if I had planned it. So the Dorigos are the developers behind Marion Meadows, and it's a PUD. They are, over the years, I believe 2010 was when the PUD was original, or maybe 2008, it was something, it was a while ago. Anyways, they, 2013. Okay, 6, sorry. We've got that.
Well, I think that we have the houses and then the townhouses,
Yes.
so they're
So
separate.
there's been some changes over the years, and as noted previously, when you make any changes to a PUD, you have to come back before the town board and go to the planning board for a referral, come back to the town board for approval. So the Dorigos have been going through this process, and for the townhome section of their subdivision, this is only relating to the townhome section, just to be clear, known as lot number 91. So what we have tonight before us, the applicants have come before the board previously. The application was referred to the town's planning board and ZBA. And at their May meeting, the planning board and ZBA sent a positive referral back to the town board for further action. So tonight, because it is a local law, and we finally got the referral back from the planning board, we are in a position tonight to schedule this for a public hearing on July 18th.
June 18th.
June 18th, I misspoke. June 18th, and this is for the subdivision of Lot 91. Lot 91 currently has all of the townhomes on it. They're basically looking at having 2 phases of the townhomes. There's one part that's been developed, and they are subdividing Lot 91 into 2 lots to be known as 91A and 91B. And this, they're not changing the density of the development. They're not changing the number of units. It's simply what was 1 lot's going to be 2. So we are scheduling a public hearing to accomplish that.
Thank you. Do you want to share, say anything? I mean, we're just scheduling the public hearing.
She really covered a lot.
They gave our whole presentation. So, if the board has any questions about what we're trying to achieve, I'm glad to put up a map and talk through them. But I think, we've talked about it a lot, so we just want to make sure that we were here in case anybody had questions.
Yep. Does anyone have any questions? Nope. Yep, I think we're ready to move this forward. Okay, so there's a motion on the table from Jenny and Darcy. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So we will...
Clear for those who are present, just motions passing for public hearing.
So we'll see you in a couple weeks.
We will be here.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I have one more penciled in, number 9. Can I get a motion to approve the supervisor to sign the application from Aqua for fire hydrants in Traybrook neighborhood? There are 2 that they're going to install.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Jenny, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So before we start counselor and committee reports, I would like to acknowledge that our county legislator, Brian May from District 1 is here in the audience. Brian, thank you for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
Would you like the floor and tell us all things county?
Sure.
Great.
Sure. I was sitting here thinking, thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for
thanks
coming.
for coming.
So nice to
Good to
see
see
you.
you guys. I thought maybe I could stay in here.
Yes,
See
that would
you
be
and see
perfect.
them.
Yes,
Is that all right?
perfect.
Do we need this?
You can, yep.
Okay, I'm gonna lower it because it's right.
It will lower.
Cool. All right. Well, operationally,
You can take it out if you want.
yeah, it's all right.
Okay.
Just picking me up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so operationally, there really isn't a lot going on in the county right now. However, there are a couple big issues in the courts of public opinion. And in wondering what the heck I would talk about tonight, I thought, you know what, there's a chance for me to set the record straight on a couple of things that have been out there in the media and just among the public in terms of discussion. So with that, the first issue that the county's been dealing with is kind of a rapidly evolving, very unfortunate issue with daycare assistance. Daycare assistance from the standpoint of Montauk County is a $44.5 million state-funded, county-administered program. due to some really, I should say, short-sighted and not so well thought out decisions by New York State, demand in 2025 is far outpacing the funding available for the program. And despite budget increases that we have made in many programs, lead abatement, foster care, and of course this, millions and millions of dollars that have been added to the county budget over the years. This is a situation where we just can't keep up. And as a result, County Social Services had to establish a waiting list for services, okay, for people who are applying for the first time and those who are recertifying for eligibility. Because Onondaga County's always taken this very, very seriously, we've always adequately funded this program. In fact, we've always overspent the allotment from New York State. That wasn't a big deal until 25. In prior years, they were just shipped money that wasn't spent by other counties to our program. Services are being provided, it's all good. Unfortunately, that ended. Now they're not shifting those dollars anymore. So there's a limit to the pot of money we can spend, number one. Number two, fast forward to today, the state at a variety of different legislative and, of course, gubernatorial levels, they made some very magnanimous gestures, okay, to folks who are receiving this care. They've expanded financial eligibility considerably. So now more people are eligible for the daycare program. Additionally, folks who are using the services who are paying 35%, parent share 35%, are now paying 1%. More people, less cost to the user. I'm not saying that's wrong, those are the facts, okay? Providers are also getting assistance in this kind of spectrum here. They are able to bill 80 absences per year per child. Do the math on that, be a conspiracy theorist, whatever you want. I think the opportunity for fraud, I think is bogus. But at the end of the day, now all of a sudden, June 1st, we have a waiting list. It is what it is. All of this sounds good, these magnanimous gestures, until somebody's got to pay the bill. Right now, Onondaga County staring down the barrel of how the heck are we going to get this done? How the heck are we going to serve the people that really need it? We're working hard with the administration, with social services, with our county finance department to figure out, from a legislative standpoint, what do we need to be prepared for in solving this problem? The administration, Ryan and his team, are working hard with the state, trying to get some relief. Today they had a minor win, and to at least increase eligibility for the folks who truly need it. And at the end of the day, these programs are for folks who truly need it. So let's make sure we're serving the right people in this process. So that's issue one. It's a tough issue. We're starting to hear from the online petitioners. Not hearing from constituents per se, but the online petitioners. And the online petitioners are run by private entities that create forums for online petitioners. Okay, and the online entities are kind of starting to harass us. Hey, what are you going to do? The tough issue for us is that we didn't create this dilemma. In fact, we've been a good provider of services to our residents. These services have been expanded considerably. Again, I won't speak to the appropriateness of that, but you can't just make these gestures without accounting for the cost, and that's the position that we're in. That's issue one. Issue two pertains to economic development. The Ledge recently passed a $27 million fund balance resolution that is really coming out of the surplus achieved, financial surplus achieved in 2024. Those dollars are to be used and given to OSIDA in the form of callable loans to acquire supply chain parcels and make them ready for, make them shovel ready. Okay, it costs a lot. We're in a situation where the reality is supply chain is going to follow Micron wherever it goes. Onondaga County has a choice. Okay, we can either step up and make the most of this opportunity, or we can sit and hope that they want to land these supply chain companies or related industries or any other economic development opportunity that comes along. It's not just supply chain. Sit and hope for the best or go after the business. And I'll tell you firsthand, Ryan is out there internationally chasing companies to come here in support. They want to be here, but they don't have to be in Onondaga County. They can be in Herkimer or Oneida, wherever, okay? We're crazy if we don't do everything we possibly can to chase that business and land it in our account. Our formula, as far as all this stuff goes here in Onondaga County, is simple. More companies, more commerce, more jobs, more community wealth. More community wealth means that we are sustaining county government and vital county programs in a much more relevant and significant way that does not include property taxes, which none of us want to increase, as we were just talking about a second ago. Okay, so we create wealth, we create jobs, we bring money into this community. It takes the pressure off of the homeowners in the way of property taxes. We're raising money through sales tax and other things that are taking place. It's good for everyone. Unfortunately, and this is where things kind of went off the rails with this issue, some, I'm going to call them uninformed or uninitiated folks who, and unfortunately this included some legislators and the media, decided to take their best shot at knocking this whole thing off the rails, okay? To stop our progress, to impede progress for political purposes or whatever reason, I don't know. If they're uninformed and uninitiated, they tend not to really be interested in their opinions. They wanted to hold this appropriation hostage. They wanted to hold this appropriation hostage for access to the draft environmental impact statement for Mike Brown. Unfortunately, folks, that's a very flawed rationale. The DEIS is a work product of Micron and Osai. It's not a work product of Onondaga County, number one. It has nothing to do with Micron. This is one of the arguably the largest development project of its type in U.S. history. It's completely unprecedented. I would hate to be the assessor in a situation like that coming into play, right? Nuts. The DEIS is a process with the state and federal regulators. And by that I mean, just for the bigger regulators, DEC and of course EPA, okay? This process is specifically designed to protect us, protect our families, protect the environment. Why the heck would anybody want to get in the way of that? Okay? And why the heck would anybody want to rush a result? Because that's the other issue that's going on. We want those results. We want access now. Why? I look across the legislature, I don't see a single environmental engineer. I don't see a biochemist. I don't see anybody that can weigh in on this thing and have a valid point. Okay? This is for the professionals to work out. And from my standpoint, it's to be worked out in whatever time frame is required to work out these details. Remember, this is all costing Micron money, not you and me. So, get it right. There's a lot at stake. That's just my take on it. Furthermore, the legislature in the county has really no legal right to that information anyways. Again, a very flawed line of thinking. People want to stop progress, do it right, do your homework, and take a productive approach to making a result better. This isn't that situation. So I wanted to kind of just sketch out those two situations for you in my report. I'm happy to answer any questions on them or anything else that's going on with the county. Sir?
Just a quick one. Going back to the supply chain, industrial warehouse thought, shovel-ready projects, do you see anything within our town where companies are kind of actively looking? Because we're such a rural town.
Right.
There's a lot of rural space.
Rural
you
town.
can plop a warehouse over there in a heartbeat, and
A rural town where in my old days I could possibly throw a rock from the Micron site here. So I think everything around what's happening with Micron has strong possibilities. Okay? There are all kinds of thoughts and considerations, targets in the war room of the county. Bear in mind, the legislature is a policy-making branch, a financial branch, financial policy branch. We're not operational, we're not tactical. Then I happen to be, work closely with Brian, so I'm privy to some things that I can't share publicly. But they have a plan, okay? And the interest isn't just, hey, let's be ready. It's, oh my gosh, they're knocking at our door. We got our county executive traveling the world to try to recruit these companies from other countries. Things are going to happen. They can happen around the site. They can happen elsewhere in the county. The key is to get it inside this county. And I'm not at liberty to discuss what those sites are.
I understand.
Yeah.
And then conversely on that, as industrial warehouse, commercial development, lowering the tax base for our town, how does that balance with increased residential within our town? Do either increase our tax base or lower our tax rates for the neighbors that are already here, let's say?
So
is there a benefit to say, hey, we don't want warehouse, we don't want that industrial, it's not going to help us out. We want residential. You know what I mean? You kind of get where I'm at?
I do. And back to the plan. And I will tell you, a lot of people a lot smarter than me are working through every nuance of the situation that we're in. We're about to have this massive development project. It is transformational, as Ryan likes to say, in many, many ways. What does that mean? That means we need housing, like you wouldn't believe. That means we need hotel rooms, like you wouldn't believe. That means towns better have their act together as far as what their planning requirements and zoning requirements are, so that discussions like that are gotcha by a developer, okay? Private, commercial, otherwise, doesn't matter. So it's putting everybody on notice. I've had conversations with the supervisor a few times now about what to do to get ready, because there's pressure. And I'm here to tell you, every town in this county is theoretically under pressure or has the potential to be impacted positively or negatively. A lot of that sits on the folks up here and the folks on the planning board, folks at the county level having the right vision and the right priorities. There's housing incentives now for housing to get out ahead of commercial development. There's hotel incentives to meet infrastructure demands. There's tourism incentives, because with all these people coming here to work and needing to attract people to come here to work, among other things, there's all kinds of plans and incentives in place to make those things stronger and better than ever. So there's so much to it. It's all being thought of. I've had the privilege of being in the war room a couple times on some of those discussions. The best thing I can answer for you is, it's important that the town is doing what it did tonight, right? Talk about PUDs, talk about planning, zoning, making sure they're ahead of the game as opposed to playing catch-up. Because trust me, there will be municipalities that are playing catch-up. I don't think Van Buren is one. I really don't. Nor is Lysander. Clay's way out ahead of the curve because they're under, they're right in the sights of everything that's happening out there. They have to be ahead of it. So they're planning and prioritizing land and space, which there isn't much of out there, but there's enough that they need to figure out what the heck they're going to do with it before someone does something with it that they don't want. So, again, the best answer I can give you is that all of this is being given significant consideration, and the farther out in front we are on all of this, and by I say we, I mean county, towns, state likes to make it talk, and the federal government likes to make it talk like this is their initiative. It's not. This is a local initiative all the way. And we're the ones that are going to have to roll out the red carpet. We're the ones that are going to have to build out infrastructure. We're the ones that have to plan and account for whatever could come our way with this. And because the project is so big, I'll tell you, I've been on the ledge for a long time. I still don't have my head around as much experience as I have. I was about to say as much as I know, but I don't know that much. But as much experience as I have, I cannot get my head around the scope and size of this project, which is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And to Brian's point, Andy, it is a lot of pressure on us. I mean, I'll speak for myself, but looking at this board, we got on the board to serve our residents and protect Van Buren and make it be what the residents want it to be. none of us probably anticipated having to deal with a Micron coming in here, and now we're here, and now it's coming, and it's a lot of pressure on us to prepare for that, and it's doing the right thing, thinking forward, doing infrastructure, doing housing, while listening to the residents and hearing what they want and what they don't want. Bob is leading the charge with the renewal of our comprehensive land use plan, and we are doing things with updating our zoning to prepare for that. It's a lot of pressure for us to meet that demand that we're gonna be facing, and we don't have any idea. So we do lean on the county a lot for assistance and consulting to help us through this, because I don't know, it's gonna be a lot.
And you raise a good point, because I live in Lysander. Certainly county, as long as they have, I just went through the whole planning process, comprehensive plan process for the county. But I'm also on the Ag and Farmland Protection Board for the county. So think about that for a second. What a dilemma for farmers, right? I mean, prime soil, prime commercial development, golden parachute, retirement. We need to be doing everything right in all those spots to protect that industry, to protect that land, protect vistas, natural resources, and all that stuff. That's why the county is, speaking of the plan and initiatives, the county is offering a financial incentive for towns to update their comprehensive land use plans as soon as they possibly can. Because again, we're urging them to be ready. No one wants to fight about this. We just all got to be ready, prepared, collaborate to get things done in a productive and positive way. It won't be easy, that's for sure. And I don't know if everyone, no one's ever happy with half the stuff we do anyway, so that's just reality. Any other questions? Great.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
That
thank
was
you.
a lot of information.
I hope you don't mind, I'm going to scoot, I guess.
No, sorry.
Thanks for
Yep.
having me.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
for
you for
coming.
coming.
Brings the county legislature right there, too.
All right, we will see you soon, okay?
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks,
Take care.
Brian.
Take care.
Okay, going back to our agenda, Council Committee reports, I will start with Mike. Anything?
Our new server's here, and it's getting ready to be deployed. Probably start in the next week or two.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So this will be the last piece of the computers upgrading.
Last piece.
Okay, super. Thank you. Roger.
I don't have anything.
Jen?
We have a facilities meeting on Friday, June 13th at 8:30 a.m. And I just received this morning the monthly progress reports for buildings and grounds and parks and rec, and their update is based on what they've been doing lately to prepare mainly for the summer recs program and the pool opening. The pool's going to be opened up next Saturday. They opened it, it's going to be ready, and its season begins next Saturday.
June 14th.
So they did do, out of the report, we have 28 of 112 of the filters that were done, so I thought that was impressive.
Yes.
And Heidi and her team are fully staffed, ready for summer rec. They've been preparing and cleaning and stacking the concession stands, and they're ready. So it was a great report.
Yep, and I just will point out that the pool filters were all purchased through the ARPA funds that we were granted through the federal government, so that didn't cost us anything.
Nope.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Darcy?
I don't have anything.
Bob?
Only thing I want to do is a reminder that on June 16th, we have our comprehensive land use committee meeting, and that will be at 4:30 on our website. There is a link for the Zoom. Please, if anybody wants to come in person, we're looking for more people and more input, but at least jump on the Zoom and see what's going on.
Thank you. Supervisor comments, I just have a couple. I wanted to let everyone know that the water chestnut program has been delayed due to all of the rain that we've been having. DEC, Water and Soil did go out and did check some areas for potential chestnut growth. They're not seeing anything yet. They expected to be well under starting this whole project, starting off with chemical treatment. So everything's been delayed for several weeks. So I will keep you posted as to when that treatment does start. I want to just remind everyone that the burn ban has been lifted, and if anyone's interested, please stop by the codes office and get a permit before you light fires. And as mentioned earlier, we received our resignation from our code enforcement officer, so we are now seeking a new one. So if anyone is certified and is looking for a code enforcement officer position, please send a resume. We're hoping to fill that position as soon as possible. The 2024 census report is out, and I am very happy to hear that the population in Van Buren increased by 0.07%, and that equates to 10 people. So those 10 people, welcome to Van Buren. And last, I wanted just to announce that our new website is finally live. It is no longer townofvanburen.com. It is vanburenny.gov. And we will be blasting that all over social media. And we have a sign hanging out front, so make a note and share it with your friends. We have a new website. Highway, hi Dave. What's going on?
Nothing much. We'll start our road work after school lets out. There's a few culverts that we'll be dealing with. I'm just waiting for the school to let out so we can start ripping up the roads. It does on slow traffic.
Okay, great, thank you. Engineer?
No comments tonight, unless I have any questions.
I do not. Town attorney?
I'm setting up.
As Darcy's mentioned to me all night long.
Give her a mic.
See me at karaoke.
Okay, guys, can I get a motion to adjourn our regular meeting to June 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m.?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Bob. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you so much. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.